It was me. I'm guilty, Your Honor. I did what they said I did.
He confessed before the trial even began. Nobody asked him to, but one judge noticed he never looked at the evidence. The courtroom expected anger. They expected denial, maybe even tears. What they did not expect was a confession. The man stood up before anyone called his name. No lawyer beside him, no hesitation. "I did it," he said. Gasps rippled across the room. The victim's family leaned forward. Reporters lifted their phones. Even the prosecutor blinked in surprise. Cases like this dragged for months. This one ended in 6 words. The judge adjusted her glasses slowly. She had seen hundreds of confessions, some loud, some desperate. This one felt rehearsed, because the man never once looked at the evidence table, not even when he admitted guilt. And that was the first thing she noticed. And if stories about hidden truths and courtroom reversals pull you in, subscribe now to the Unheard Witness, because sometimes justice survives only because someone keeps watching. The prosecutor recovered quickly. "You understand what you are admitting?" he asked. "Yes." No shaking voice, no trembling hands, just calm acceptance. Microphones picked up every breath. The gallery whispered. The defense attorney stood frozen, clearly unprepared. "Your Honor," he stammered, "I advised my client not to—" "It's fine," the man interrupted. "Too fast, too eager." Another thing the judge noticed. People who confessed usually leaned toward relief. This man looked protective, like someone shielding something behind him. The prosecutor began outlining the crime. A warehouse fire, millions lost, one-night security guard injured, your insurance fraud suspected. Surveillance footage showed a figure entering after hours. The same height, same build, same jacket the man owned. Strong case, simple ending. Except the judge kept watching his hands. They rested flat against the table, perfectly still. No nervous tapping, no clenched fists, just waiting. Almost like he wanted sentencing to hurry. That was strange, because prison waited at the end of that road. She leaned forward. "Why now?" she asked quietly. The room fell silent. He blinked once. "My conscience. Too clean. Too rehearsed again." A 60-second pause stretched across the courtroom. Then the first twist arrived. The prosecutor smiled. "Your Honor, the state requests immediate acceptance of confession." Fast. Almost impatient. That caught her attention more than anything. Trials meant headlines. And evidence presentations, career moments. Why rush? She glanced toward the defense lawyer. Sweat gathered at his temple. He looked confused, completely blindsided, meaning the confession had not been planned legally. Another red flag. The judge allowed questioning. The prosecutor approached. "You entered the warehouse at 11:18 p.m. "Yes." "You ignited accelerants?" "Yes." "You fled before emergency response?" "Yes." Perfect answers. Too perfect. Then came the micro cliffhanger. The judge noticed he never once said, "I," always repeating exactly the words asked, like memorizing lines. Her pen stopped moving. She looked down at the case file again. Photographs, insurance documents, witness reports. One detail nagged her. The injured guard. He had claimed someone shoved him before the fire started. Hard enough to break ribs. Violent. But the man confessing looked gentle. Thin wrists, old scar on his palm. She had seen violent defendants before. They carried tension differently. 90 seconds into testimony. The second twist surfaced. A clerk quietly approached the bench, whispered something. The judge's eyes narrowed slightly. She nodded once. The courtroom never noticed, but viewers would have, because the clerk had handed her a hospital update. The injured guard had regained consciousness that morning and requested to testify. Unexpected, dangerous timing. She kept her expression neutral. "Continue," she said. The prosecutor finished quickly, satisfied. Victory already tasted sweet. Then defense counsel stood slowly, still confused. "You are confessing against my advice?" "Yes." "Did anyone pressure you?" "No." Too fast again. Micro cliffhanger. The judge leaned forward. "Look at me," she said softly. He obeyed. Finally, their eyes met, and she saw fear. Not fear of prison, fear of interruption, like someone praying nobody asked the wrong question. She flipped another page. Warehouse ownership records. Insurance payout beneficiary. The victim company belonged to a partnership. 2 executives. One recently bankrupt, one recently promoted. She glanced toward the gallery. A well-dressed man sat front row, perfect suit, watching intensely, not emotional, calculating. Every time the defendant spoke, that man nodded slightly, almost approving. Third twist, the judge asked casually, "Do you know anyone seated in this courtroom?" "No." Instant answer. But the suited man shifted uncomfortably, barely noticeable. Micro cliffhanger. The judge noticed everything. She called for a short recess. Gasps followed. The prosecutor objected. "Your Honor, confession stands." "I am aware." Her tone ended discussion. Inside chambers, she reviewed surveillance stills again. Timestamp 11:18 p.m. entry. Shadowed figure. Heavy stride. Broad shoulders. Nothing like the man outside. Height matched, but movement didn't. She replayed footage alone, frame by frame. Fourth twist. The figure used the left hand to open the door. The defendant earlier signed documents using his right. Could mean nothing, could mean everything. Court resumed. The atmosphere changed. Everyone sensed delay meant danger. She began her own questioning. Rare, powerful. "Describe the warehouse layout." He hesitated. 1 second too long. "Storage shelves." "Which side housed chemical drums?" Silence. Tiny, but devastating. "I don't remember." Gasps. Micro cliffhanger. A man burning millions rarely forgot where accelerants sat. The prosecutor jumped in quickly. "Trauma affects memory." Convenient. Too convenient. Fifth twist arrived like thunder. Court doors opened. A medic escorted the injured guard inside. Bandaged ribs, slow steps, shock everywhere. The prosecutor protested loudly, but the judge allowed testimony. The guard sat carefully, eyes scanning. He froze when seeing the defendant. Confusion spread across his face. "That's not him." Explosion. Voices erupted. The prosecutor objected again. Memory unreliable. Medication involved. But doubt entered the room. Micro cliffhanger. The suited man in front row stood halfway, then sat back down, trying not to draw attention. Too late. The judge saw. She ordered silence. "Explain," she told the guard. "The man who shoved me, heavier, taller." He pointed slowly, not at the defendant, at the gallery, directly at the suited executive. Sixth twist detonated. Chaos. Security moved instantly. The executive laughed nervously. Ridiculous accusation. But the judge remembered the nodding earlier, the impatience, the rushed confession request. She turned back to the defendant. "Why confess?" Silence stretched painfully. He swallowed. Eyes wet now. Finally, emotion. Micro cliffhanger. "I owed him," he whispered. The courtroom leaned forward. Flashback poured out. Months earlier, his daughter needed surgery. Insurance denied coverage. Debt crushing. The executive offered help. Money transferred quietly, in exchange for loyalty. Warehouse fire planned for insurance payout. But when investigation began, someone needed blame. He agreed, believing prison better than watching his child die. Gasps everywhere. Seventh twist. The prosecutor suddenly hesitated because financial records began arriving electronically. Court clerk whispered again. Emergency subpoena results. Bank transfers, match story, direct payments, large amounts, from executive accounts. The judge felt anger rise. Not loud anger, cold anger, the dangerous kind. She ordered digital evidence displayed. Screens lit up, transactions, dates, medical bills, everything aligned. Micro cliffhanger. The executive attempted to leave. Security blocked him. Sweat replaced confidence. He shouted accusations, claimed conspiracy. But then came the eighth twist. Surveillance enhancement, loaded. The judge asked technicians to zoom gate analysis, stride comparison, split screen. Warehouse footage beside hallway camera footage from that morning. Same heavy walk, same shoulder dip. The executive froze. The room understood. The confession collapsed instantly. The defendant began crying quietly. First time. Relief mixed with terror. He thought sacrifice saved his child. Instead, truth found him anyway. The prosecutor sat down slowly. Career instincts shifting sides. Justice demanded correction. The judge spoke calmly. False confession entered under coercion invalidates proceedings. Gasps again. Micro cliffhanger. But she wasn't finished. She addressed the executive. You remained today to watch sentencing. No response. That suggests confidence outcome favored you. Silence louder than shouting. Ninth twist arrived. Phone records subpoenaed minutes earlier pinged courtroom Wi-Fi. Messages sent during trial. From executive device to unknown contact. Instructions. Make sure he sticks to script. Displayed publicly. No recovery left. Security escorted him forward. Handcuffs clicked. Sound echoed like thunder. The defendant collapsed into chair. Head buried. Courtroom breath released together. But one final micro cliffhanger remained. The judge turned back to him gently. You almost disappeared inside someone else's crime. He nodded weakly. Why didn't you tell anyone earlier? His answer silenced everyone. Because nobody listens to desperate fathers. Long pause. Then she delivered final ruling. Charges dismissed. Immediate investigation ordered. Fraud conspiracy opened. Applause nearly erupted before she struck the gavel. Outside, courthouse sunlight felt unreal. Reporters shouted questions. He shielded his eyes. His daughter waited beside social workers. Small arms wrapped around him instantly. He broke completely then. Not from fear. From survival. Across the street, detectives escorted the executive into a vehicle. Head lowered now. Power reversed. And inside the courtroom, the judge remained seated alone afterward, reviewing empty chairs, thinking about the moment nobody else noticed. The confession. Perfect words, perfect timing, perfect calm. Justice almost failed quietly that day, because everyone heard the confession, but only one person watched the silence around it. And sometimes, that is the difference between guilt and truth.